Yes, I've used the bathroom. Thank you for asking, Kat. I appreciate it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the studio. Welcome to another Friday. Yet another Friday. They never end, do they? Maybe someday it'll be our last Friday and we won't know. We won't know that it's the last Friday, but it will be the last Friday. And I don't really know how to feel about that. So let's go to FL Studio. Welcome to FL Studio, the breakfast of choice of most long-distance runners. All right, what do we got? We don't have too many this week, so if anybody hasn't submitted one, I will take a few more. But we'll start out with Ragestone. Yeah, I start every day with existential dread, and I end every day with existential dread. So that's how I live my life. You sent yours on the 15th of September thread. Okay, well, why don't you send it on the correct thread, and I'll download it from there. All right, first up, we got Ragestone and Yuki. Time Heals. Okay. First of all, this is kind of like ASMR, somebody stirring pasta or taking a sip.
Прощай навечно. Время все лечит.
Okay, I'm going to stop it just for a sec because I just realized that I had the volume down on my PC. I was wondering why it sounded quiet. Okay, now I have the volume way up. Hold on. Okay, we should be good. My first notes are that I'm pretty sure I heard the word crustacean.
Время все лечит.
Hold on.
Я с этим справился. Еще не вечер, ничто не вечно. Живи настоящим, и никакой встречи.
Right there, something crustacean. Anyway, I'm sure it's not English, so whatever. We're gonna keep going. This is really good so far. So drop sick. The sub bass is quite loud. Whoopsies. The sub bass is too loud. Like to me, it's very. You can see it over here too. It's almost like everything is under the sub. So I'll just go and see if I can pull it down and see if we can hear what it should sound like, in my opinion. So like, I feel like you could pull 5 dB out of the sub range. Yeah, I kind of feel like you could probably get away somewhere between like 3 and 6 dB, just lowering your sub bass, and then you'll be able to push the master harder and get everything else up. It just kind of felt like the rest of the track was underneath the sub and wasn't really in my face as much as I thought it should be. Let's keep going.
Не могу найти себя никак, я потерялся в своих же снах. Позабыл, что значит страх. Делаю в бездну шаг, не отступлю назад. Очередной мой системе уже не проблема. Когда умру в сети, не ищите мое тело. Я хочу раствориться, навсегда исчезнуть. Просто от всех сбежать, но некуда мне деться. Все лечит.
Yeah, that's sick. That there's a lot of great stuff happening in this, but I really just think you gotta bring the subwoofer down a little bit. The subwoofer, wow. Bring the sub bass down a little bit because it's overbearing and it's on top of everything else. So if you brought that down probably 4 or 5 decibels and then push the master a bit harder, then all of a sudden, in fact, that might account for the difference in volume here. This might just straight up be the sub going all the way 0 dB, and then this is like the volume of everything else, and that's kind of giving you a visual representation of how your subwoofer is too loud. I don't know why I keep saying subwoofer. It's the wrong word, and yet I keep saying it. So those are my thoughts. I thought it's a sick song. Bring your sub down a bit, and maybe the vocals are a little bit scooped. Let me listen again. I don't know. They might be a little scooped in the mids, like not very, like they could use a little bit more mid-range. But the biggest thing, I think, from the technical standpoint is just that sub being too loud. Besides that, it's a very cool song. Okay, before I move on, I'm just going to go grab these 2 tracks that... There we go. All right, let's move on. Thanks for sending. Let's check out Ultraviolet finished draft. Wow, that was sick. Sorry, I kind of fucked something up. I need to make a real quick phone call. Shit. You guys could just hang out while I do a call. Hey. Not so much, man. Do you live in town? Okay, I'm gonna have to bring the ECU to you because I totally meant to leave it in my garage for you, and I forgot it's locked in the Civic that's on the street. Yeah. Yeah, I just totally blanked on you coming out after you were done work. So I'll Okay, yeah, I'll be home all tomorrow because we're building the deck. So if you want to stop by, or I can bring it by to you. Okay, sounds good. All right, sorry about that, man. Okay, bye. Okay, sorry about that. And we're back. And well, we never left, but I'm back. Okay, what do I think about this? I think that I really like the house section. I find that the sub is lacking in the house section, though. I think it's because it's the I wonder what it would be like if the bass sustained through the or something. Excuse me, I got the hiccups apparently. Let me see what notes you're playing, because also I wonder if it's in the wrong octave. Is that? So A sharp, G, D. Are you doing which A sharp? I don't know if I don't know if having a sustained sub during this section would be beneficial, but I think I think I would be willing to give it a shot. Because when you do the choppy thing, it sounds great, but it lacks like the bottom end and the power. Yeah, it's almost like there is no sub, because I was looking at this, but this is just the kick drum. Like, yeah, anywhere between the kick drums, there's really not a whole lot of energy in the bottom end. If I go in solo, just the sub range. Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna have to figure out a way of either, if you're gonna do the thing. What are you saying, Raham? Honestly, I hate subs and drops that aren't one of zero volume. I don't know. There's basically, I guess, the consensus is that the sub is not present when you're doing the choppy choppies. And the choppy choppies are cool and give it a cool flow and a cool sound, but there's no like oomph behind them. And I think also generally it's kind of lacking sub. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the key that it's in. I don't know. That's one thing. Anyway, let's move on, because that's an issue that you have to maybe get a little creative to figure out. Maybe if you do the sustained bass through the whole thing, it gives it a lot of bottom end, but it loses its da-da-da-da-da-ness. So that's a thing you're gonna have to play around with and figure out the best course of action. Now, in this, another little note, and this could just be personal taste, but this low pass down here, I didn't really like it when it happened. It just kind of seems like it just kind of seems like you thought you should do something to make it more interesting, and it was just done for that reason. And I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me because this feels like it's building up to something, but then all of a sudden it gets low pass down and then opens up again. It just, like, the logic isn't there for me. Okay, so that's another thing. And then I do agree that this lead is kind of... It just kind of doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's kind of like the notes that you're playing and everything are fine. And musically, this is strong and I enjoy it. But that solo where it's just kind of like a unison, like square wave, I don't know. I don't really like it. And also, I'm generally not a big fan of, unless there's like going to be a vocal there or something. Okay, what? Overall, it's a very cool track, and I like the flow of it. I like the sound design. I like the chippity choppity chopes in the drop. Vine boom in the silence. That's a good idea. It's a bad idea, but I like it. It's funny. Yeah, I guess biggest thing, try to figure out how to get more bottom end in there during the duggas. And maybe try some different sounds instead of the square wave kind of general MIDI synth lead sounding thing. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Up next, we got Untitled, Because I'm a Serious Guy. All right. I mean, you could still be serious and give it a title. I don't think that's anybody's going to fault you for that. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to stop this here for a sec. This is interesting. It's kind of, it reminds me a bit of Aphex Twin. I think this track would be way better if it didn't have like the acoustic drums. Like if it had like more interesting sounds, because it sounds like it's contemplative, if that's a word. It sounds like this is like you're like thinking about the things you've done in the past that were not ideal. But then the kind of the generic drum sound comes in, and it's not really doing anything. I feel like if you added like more interesting sounding drums that are more almost like IDM or sample based, or something that has more character than just kind of like an okay sounding acoustic drum set, I think that's going to help a lot. And then also where you have such long like pauses between the piano things, having some atmosphere or soundscape or some interesting noises going on, like listen to that 9 Inch Nails record, the Ghosts one. It's got long drawn out piano stuff happening, but there's more there. There's some interesting sounds that you're listening to, and maybe you're trying to figure out what the sounds are, and that makes the track flow a lot better, because we're not just sitting here waiting for the next piano note to happen. There's other stuff to carry our attention and whatnot, right? So I'm not like, musically, this is interesting. It's fine. It's a little brooding, maybe is the word. But it needs more interesting sounds to carry it through. And these drums are really, they don't really have a whole lot of use. I can't imagine using these drum sounds in anything and then being like, ah, yes, I like these drum sounds. You know, it just kind of sounds like a keyboard that comes with drums, and somebody in the marketing department said, we need drums in this keyboard. And then somebody put these drums in and checked a box and said, we have drums, you know, like the pattern is interesting and everything. It just, there's not enough character. They just kind of sound like bare minimum quality drums. So I guess to me, the track sounds like it's supposed to be introspective and oh, thanks New World Order for following me on SoundCloud. Sorry, I forgot to close my mail. Anyway, yeah, that to me, the track has this kind of like dark and unique sound to it, but then you're using generic sounds. It's kind of a generic sounding piano and it's kind of a generic sounding drum kit. So that would be my suggestion, would be to get a little bit more creative with go and find some sounds or create some sounds and just make it more interesting to listen to, because if the piano was like the nicest sounding piano in the world or super, you know, it was a prepared piano and it had like some weird texture things or a little fork bouncing around inside or something, that would give me more things to focus on. But right now I'm just hearing generic piano, generic drums. So that's my suggestion for this track. Try to be a little bit more experimental with the sounds you use, because the track is sounding experimental and unique, and the sounds should follow suit. All right, thank you for sending. Moving on. Velcode, 128 beat per minute, very old, doomed ID. All right. Wow, crazy. I deleted it. Working on the past image, another show, but I was looking for old projects. I was wondering if this was worth remaking as a bass house or something. Interesting. Okay, let's have a listen. Also, I don't want to say yes or no to somebody continuing something. That's way too much responsibility on my end, you know. But anyway, I'll tell you what I think. So this is actually, I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of got like the European festival vibe or whatever, but it's actually sounds great to me. The one thing I would say is that the vocals are very just kind of they sound not important. The way that they're mixed or something about them, they just kind of sound like a layer that's in there, right? So I don't know if you're worried about it being cheesy, or if you don't think it's cheesy, then just tell Bleed to go fuck himself, you know? But if you do think it sounds cheesy and you do think that like it's like, oh, slap house or whatever, I don't even know what that really means, to be honest. If it were me, I would just right before the drop, I would use a pre-drop thing that was like, I love slap house or fuck slap house, or you know, like make it full and then go full deep hard into the cheesiness, you know, like really lean into the cheesiness. Oh yeah, do a Prida snare and then have it say like fuck you Bleed, this is slap house, and then you know, yeah, embrace the cheese, because it's like 3/4 like bum ba da 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 da, like it's very, I don't know, but it's well produced, and I don't really have any issues with the way it sounds, besides the fact that the vocal just kind of sounds generic and not important. Embrace the cheese, fuck the Bleed. That sounds like a screamo band lyric. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's fucking, it's really well mixed and well produced, and it sounds great, honestly. If you don't like the style, then whatever, but if it were me, I would like, yeah, I would lean 100% into the cheesiness and just make it kind of like a joke, but it's like a well-produced joke, you know? Like it's as good as people making this style of music non-ironically, but if you did it ironically, then you're kind of like appealing to the people who like this music, but also the people that secretly like this music but don't want to like this music because they can play it as a joke, and they're like, I hate this music, but this song's making fun of this music. I feel like I just said so many words in a row. I hope that gives you some ideas. I don't have any other thoughts. Cool. All right, next up we got Verbatim. Guess the genre. I'm gonna guess that it's like, I don't know, color bass or something. Or wait, no, it's Verbatim, so it's punk, cyberpunk, synth punk wave cyber. I don't know. Dude, it sounds like he says, shut your hole. All right, so hold on. I have a thought already. Okay, so you're in the key of C, which is challenging because now you're playing, but that's not very deep. And if you played, that's too deep. I would, if you're super early if you're super early in the production stages of this song, I would shift the whole thing up to like E or F or something, so that you could have a much deeper sub bass. Writing a track like this in the key of C is very challenging because that is basically inaudible. The drop synth feels like it's voiced a bit high. I think it's just in an awkward key, and that's causing some issues with. You could do, I don't know if C sharp's perfect. It's better than C, but D is usually the lowest I go unless I'm getting real creative and I find like ways of having it still be deep down there. Anyway, I know you're talking about the lead, but what I'm saying is it could still have to do with the fact that it's in C. Yeah, okay. And then the snare is just kind of a little generic sounding. I'd have like check this snare out. This is a pretty good snare. No, I'm not gonna do baby making because it's not the right snare for this sound. Drum damage. You need like a more like dirty, like 9 Inch Nails closer kind of snare. Like where's D? Drum damage. Thank you. And it's like 17. This one. I spent like an hour layering the snare. That doesn't mean it's good. That just means you spent an hour. So like something like a bit more, you know? Like that, kind of a bit more dirty. Let me try. I'm just gonna layer this and see what happens. Get out of there. Well, obviously it's not gonna really fit in. I don't know. It's not the worst snare, but maybe it needs to be louder or something. It just kind of sounds like a background element. It doesn't sound like one of the most important parts of the track, which it kind of is, right? Okay, let's keep going. You don't think the snare's a problem? Well, I don't think that you're a problem. Yeah, the snare might, maybe don't delete the snare. Maybe just make it more present in the mix because it's just not cutting through. Yeah, I would distort the snare. That's a good suggestion, Kat. Like because it just happens. It's very substantial or something. V-dub half snares. Yeah, it needs better drums. I just think like the drums in general just kind of sound like underneath, like it's almost like the bass synth thing is like so up front and the drums are taking a back seat when they should be both kind of fighting each other with the side chaining. They should both be competing in a way. So when the kick and the snare hits, they're like very commanding, but then in between the kicks and the snares, blah, 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 blah. I still use Vengeance sometimes, Raham, so go fuck yourself. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on this one. I think that with better drums, this would be much stronger, and also put it up a few semitones so that you can then shift your sub down an octave and have way more girth in the bottom end. Cool. All right. Nothing to Fear by Hudson Lee, except now it's by Ergerelbejerefagrebrunjagekokri. Okay, yeah, this is really nice and sounds, you gotta do another genre at least once. I think the bass is maybe too loud in like the second harmonic or something. See, like this big lump and then this big dip. There's something going on here, and it might not be as simple as turning the bass down. It could need a little bit more, but I heard it before I went and looked. So, it doesn't sound as noticeable here. Oh, probably because you have that dirty bass filling in some of the mid-range, right? But like the snare is very scooped. So when the snare hits, it kind of just sounds like a bright white noise. You know, there's not a lot of body to it. The snare sounds good. It just kind of sounds like it's had all of its mids scooped out of it. Like the snare is loud enough, but it doesn't really hit me. It just kind of is like a sound. It doesn't have that like punch to it, you know? I don't know if you're sidechaining to the snare, and I think you should be, at least to a certain extent. Like the snare... I don't think you are sidechaining, or if you are, not enough. So I would investigate back here this weird shape. And then I would try to add a little bit more body to the snare and sidechain to it, because I think this genre, especially because it's so kind of sporadic with the drum beat, you really need that snare punching us on a very strict schedule, so that we can that's kind of what's giving the track its pace and its rhythm, is that snare consistently being there, very present, very punchy, so that we can know how to nod our head, you know, because everything else is kind of kind of jazzy and well, not jazzy. I was thinking of jazz, kind of like ninja. It's like very ninja, waha, yeah, and we need that snare as like the staple to hold us to the rhythm. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that. And I do agree that I would love to hear amps make like something that doesn't have a neuro bass in it, just to see. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that your stuff always has neuro basses. Like, that's what you like and that's what you do. But I would like to hear what would happen if you gave yourself like a creative constraint where you're like, I'm not going to use a neuro AU5 style bass sound. And who knows, maybe that'll break you through into some sort of creativity that you didn't know you had. And then you can go back to using neuro basses and stuff, but maybe you'll come out with a new skill. Who knows? But it would be a cool challenge for you, I think. All right, let's move on. That's what I have to say about that. Thank you for sending. We got Ice Kayab, heavy test. Let us test the heavy. 100% this is my favorite part of the whole track. All right, what do I think? I think the kick pattern was the most off-putting. It was almost like not a single one of the kicks was where I expected it to be. They're like all on the upbeat. So I think the first of all, the kick pattern could be a little bit better. And then the next thing is there's a lot of just noise, and I know that's kind of the genre, and that is this sound. But there's cool rhythms in here that are kind of getting masked because there's just like a lot of stuff all of the time. And there's a lot of background noise. You got the siren, you've got what I'm assuming is just maybe a recording of an industrial site playing the entire time. So I think, and this doesn't work with this genre, but I think if everything was kind of going ja 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 ja, or at least most of the elements, instead of like having it all smeared with all of this like background noise, that would maybe drive the rhythm home a bit better. But to me, the biggest thing is that the kick pattern, I just can't get behind it because I'm just like, when's the kick gonna hit? When's the kick gonna hit? And then the kick hits a lot, but never really what I expected it to. And sometimes it's nice to know when things are gonna happen and to be able to predict the future. I like to predict the future, and with this kick pattern, I cannot. It is all new to me. But it's heavy, and it's not far off that style. I just think you got to rein it back a little bit in terms of like the absolute wall of distorted noise that's happening the whole time, and embrace the rhythm of the ja 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 thing a bit more thoroughly. And that's what I got to say. And no matter what, don't ever change this sound because it's great. All right, cool. Thanks for sending. Moving on. This one is called, okay. It's called Shatterproof, but when I read it over here, it's just Shat. So I'm going to call it Shat, by Crescendum. Crescendum. I don't know how to say that. Shat. All right, here we go. And that's halfway through. All right. I agree. I agree with Singularity. It's kind of hard to follow. Like the rhythm. The rhythm is a bit too spastic for me anyway. I think you have to balance like having like a cool choppy rhythm with having something that's still easy to follow rhythmically, right? Also, the kick drum I don't think is right. I don't think this kick is right. It's more of like more of like a trap kick drum or something. It's very round. It doesn't have much of a transient. You know, it's more of just a... I think what it is like maybe it goes dun dun ka dun dun ka dun dun ka, and then something kind of spastic or crazy, you know, and then go back to dun ka dun dun ka. It's just a bit too like hoo ha ha he ha ha, you know. It's just a little too unpredictable rhythmically, which kind of seems like a theme for today, which is interesting. But yeah, I think the kick drum is too round. It needs more of like a punchier, like with a clear transient. Please make this song just make it more predictable. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm over losing sleep for you. My inner voice is clear like a shining crystal. I won't fall for your gaze. You keep trying to seem tough, but I know you're brittle.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of great ideas in here, but they're almost like a little too ADHD or something, you know, like they're kind of just like a whole bunch of interesting stuff thrown at the wall, and some of it sticks and some of it doesn't necessarily. So I think that if you kind of maybe narrowed it down so that there's a bit more predictability, you know, and that's not to say you should make it all copy and paste, you know, or like totally predictable. But I do think that it would make the arrangement a little easier. Like if the energy flowed and hit and broke down, to me, I always felt like I was trying to catch up with what was going on in the track, if that makes sense. I never felt comfortable, you know, I never felt like I was like, oh, it's this part. All right, you know, let's go on this part. Yeah, I like when it does this thing. It just kind of was, it was almost a little taxing to listen to because I was constantly trying to understand what was happening. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that one. And I really do think you should experiment with a few different kick drums that are a bit more transient-y, sharp, less kind of thump, 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 you know, because that to me sounds like a trap, kind of like is it Jackal? Is that the artist name? It's kind of like a Jackal style kick drum. All right, that's what I think about that one. Thank you for sending. And I do agree with Kadia, not so predictable, it becomes boring. Yeah, it's Owen Wilson. Yeah, I think there's a balance there. So trying to find the balance between having enough interesting switch ups and stuff, but still having a nice flow and having something that we can attach ourselves to and feel like we're along for the ride is the goal. All right, cool. Let's move on. We got Aiden Dodge. Oh, never mind. We got Aiden Dodge. I don't care. All right.
It's been a year now.
Okay, first of all, the piano is very thin. Like I don't hear any bass to the piano.
It's been a year now since the last time you and I ever spoke a word. I had moved on from the pain that I experienced, but now it wants more words. And I don't care to know.
Same with the vocals. The vocals are very like up here. They're very heavy in right in that like that harsh range. Like that almost to me makes the vocals sound quite a bit better.
Since the last time you and I ever spoke a word, I had moved on from the pain that I experienced, but now it wants more words.
Okay, let's keep going.
I don't care, you can go anywhere and I won't give a fuck about your whereabouts. Gave you everything but you left me with a broken heart. Brought you into my life so you could tear it all apart. Look at me now, you should've took me when you had the chance. You say you want me back but I don't motherfucking care.
Okay, there's definitely some cool stuff happening in here, but the mix is holding it back a lot. The piano and the vocals being very 3 kilohertz heavy, very high, mid, harsh, and kind of almost lacking any sort of body like in the lower frequencies. That's an issue. And then when we get to the drop section, you have like sub, and then you have like 3 kilohertz and up, you know? So it's almost like this frequency range right here. This frequency range is almost like neglected. Like I just added 6 dB, which is a lot, in the 150 to 1000 hertz, and it sounded better to me. And I'm not suggesting you just go and do this. I'm suggesting that like you look at your sounds and you got to use all of the sounds in the track to fill in that frequency range in a creative way. It's not just like I got sub, I got bass, I got high end, you know, like that thing, the thing that's going down. And also the whoa, like the wubs are very thin. Like I would be interested to hear it without the sub bass, because I think the sub bass and the kick drum are kind of existing on their own, and then the rest of the track is sitting on top of it. But anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
Same here.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
Like that vocal thing is like very thin, but still very loud, and it just kind of gives it that very scooped sound.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
The vocal melody's good. It's just the sound of the recording, or the way that you've EQ'd it, or maybe what you're monitoring on that's lacking a bunch of those frequencies. I don't know why it sounds that way.
I don't care to know where you've been and where you go. I don't want to know. I don't care.
And again, there's some
I don't care.
there's some timing issues. I think those will just get better as you get more practice, but like
I don't care.
like I don't care feels like it's not really on the beat.
Don't want to know. I don't care.
It's late. It's like dun dun dun. I don't. It should be on the upbeat. I don't know, but it's like a 16th note late or something.
Don't want to know. I don't care. So you could tear it all apart. Look at me now, you should have took me.
And yeah, if you're using Maximus very heavily on a bunch of stuff, it's probably going to cause this issue. But you can see the problem right here. You get all this bright sound, you get all this sub bass, but then there's just this band in the middle that it just is not surviving. Like, it almost sounds like things are either high passed or low passed, you know? Like, those drums sound like they've been high passed at, I don't know, 4,000 hertz. So to me, if you're relying on ODT and Maximus on a lot of these sounds, that very possibly could be causing this problem where it's hyping up the lows and the highs, but the mids just kind of get left behind. All right, those are my thoughts. We're going to move on. Thank you for sending. We got, wow, look at that looks like a bullet. Anyway, we got Wormhole, bowling alley type beat. I love it already. Oh, that little bend at the very end. Dude, this song is fucking awesome. It's very strong musicianship. I'm going to tell you one thing. The one secret that doctors don't want you to know that will make this song 100 times better. And it's called your kick drum goes on forever. Every time you hit that kick drum, it rings out in the sub range for like seriously 3 seconds. Like if you listen to a single kick drum, the kick drum is killing the bottom end. It's just messing it all up. It's all messy and rumbly, and it's making it so I don't hear the bass line as much because all I'm hearing is, you know, like. See what I mean? Like you can hear the bass line, but then when the kick hits, it turns into just blah, 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 blah. You got to tighten that kick drum up, boy. The kick drum's got to get tightened up. And the song is going to be so much better with that kick drum tightened up. And then what I would suggest is maybe try drying out some of the sounds a little bit. It's all very wet and delayed out and reverbed and stuff. And that's cool and fits the vibe. But I think if you pulled it all back a little bit, it's going to make it less blurry. Because you have so many little ba-da-da-da-ba-da-ba-da, you know, like the da-da-da-da-da. But it loses the da-da-da if it's da-da-da-da because of the reverb and the delay. So 2 things, and then this track is 100% like outro music. Yeah. Just make that, really all you need is like a short little dum up for the kick and let the bass do the work. Let the bass fill out the rest. Because it's the kick is not playing a note. It's just playing. And then just try to dry it out just a little. Like just as an experiment, strip all of the reverb and delay off the whole track. Listen to it. And then bring it back in to taste. And maybe not mute it, but save it as a new copy so that you don't, fuck your project up. Turn all your wet, dry knobs, all that stuff for the delay and the reverb all the way down and listen to the track and then add it maybe 10% and see what it sounds like. Add 15%. See how it sounds. I just think it could just be so much better if it was just a little tighter. So that is all I have to say about that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And there's so many great like themes and motifs and like da 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 ba da ba da 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 ba da ba da. Like it's so good. So thank you for sending. All right, let's move on. We got Wound, and I guess we got 4 of them. 4 wounds. Here we go. This looks loud. That was sick. I definitely like thought I was committing crimes. Wait, I accidentally did this. It's like instead of guns, it's like scissors. I'm using scissors as weapons. So definitely making me feel fairly criminal in nature, and that's good. Sometimes it's nice to feel like a criminal, especially if it doesn't involve actually committing crimes. But okay, what would I say to make this better? I think the snare should be punch through the mix. The kick is so in my face. It might actually be inside my face. I do agree it should have a verse. And like everything is sick, but I think if the snare was like almost as loud as the kick drum, then that would make the beat go even harder. Make that beat go hard. Fuck. All right, hold on. Let me. Uno momento. Anybody hazard a guess at the tempo? Okay, this is the start of a bar. And then we go like this. 140. Thank you. Is that, well, that's your incorrect. 114.5. What? Da da dun dun cut. I got this. Don't worry. It actually is 114.5. You're right. Hold on. How do I type? Thank you. 114.5. Here we go. Let's this could be cool, maybe. All right, let's turn it back up. Yeah, that sounds better to me. You know, let's compare. It's kind of like the yin and yang. You need the kick and the snare to be like playing with each other, but I felt like the kick was like this big monstrous dude and then the snare was like a child or something, you know? And the fact that the snare is in key with the track is just an added bonus. So yeah, it's called Tiny Snare. I don't remember Baby Making. You know what? Let's try Baby Making Snare. Why not? Let's do it. It's like the same. Why is your wave candy spectrum linear instead of logarithmic? I have no idea. That's sick too. I mean, once again, Baby Making Snare makes a comeback. Okay, cool track. Keep going. That's what I got to say. Make the snare louder. Cool. Easy peasy. All right, we got Net Felix and Chill feedback. I just got it. Net Felix and Chill. Wow.
Okay.
All right, this is very nice and contrasty. I like the lick. But the fake guitar, I don't know. Personally, I don't know if I would do that. I'd maybe find a better thing to do. I just, whenever I hear kind of like, it sounds kind of like an Omnisphere guitar or something like that. Maybe it's just because I'm a producer. Maybe normal people wouldn't get it or care. But to me, when I hear that, I just kind of like, I can just like picture like a preset in Omnisphere. And I'm not saying that it is Omnisphere, but that's just that's what it makes me think of. It's mostly in the da 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 because it's very clearly not a real guitar, but it sounds like it's supposed to be a real guitar. Anyway, okay, what else? I love this one wub. Kind of sounds like a big ogre that's having indigestion. Enormous for guitar. That's funny. It's a flex preset. Oh, interesting. Okay. I mean, yeah, the color-based drop is color-based drop. It's good. I like it. I like it. I love all of these parts, though.
Penis and nutsack.
Oh, I love that I find that funny. This is amazing.
Penis and nutsack. Penis and nutsack.
Is this like a recording of me? It kind of sounds like me saying that.
Penis and nutsack.
But yeah, I think for me the biggest thing is the just the sound of that like fake guitar. I think you can do better. That's what I have to say about that. Everything else sounds pretty good to me, and I really love all the gentle sections and everything. I know that it's color based. I kind of feel like if the drop had a bit more of a maybe melodic, like maybe the second part of the drop like had a chord progression or like a bass progression, you know, that it didn't just stay at the tonic or whatever. But yeah, biggest thing. And I also didn't think the second part sucked, like you said. I thought it sounded great. But yeah, replace the fake guitar with something else. That is what I have to say about that. All right, Cat Attack, Sentry. Here we go. Let's see what Cat Attack has done. I swear to God, if this says penis and nutsack, I will do a handstand.
Because I'm a potato.
Okay, very cool, but what happened to the kick drum? What happened to everything that's not the bass, I guess, is a better question. We can see that the bass is approximately 14 billion times louder than... Is it maybe just the sub bass that's that loud? I honestly think that you maybe made a mistake. Hold on. I think it's just the sub bass that's that loud. Let's pull that down fucking 16 dB. Like, even pulling it down 6 dB is... Yeah, like, okay, so let's compare. This is... How much did I pull it down? 6 decibel. I pulled the sub range down 6 decibels, and then I just brought the master limiter down to match.
I'm a potato.
So the track is sick, and everything that's happening is sick, but your sub bass is just 6 dB too loud, in my opinion. And you can definitely see it in the waveform, you know, like the kick, and that should at least be the same volume. Like, actually, what if we do this? Let's take this section, let's do what I just did and record it. And I agree with Kadia. I think that's still part of the same problem. Like, even with what I've done, you can see there's less of a there's less of a difference. Like, we don't have this dead spot quite as much as in the original. But yeah, I really like everything that's happening. It just the mix is off. So maybe address that. Okay, let's keep going.
I'm different.
Once,
What the fuck was that?
I'm different.
once, they even attached an intelligence dampening sphere on me. It clung to my brain like a tumor, generating an endless stream of terrible ideas. It was your voice.
So I don't think the drums themselves are strange. I think the mix is doing them dirty, because I had to pull, you got to remember, I pulled 6 dB out of the sub range, which also affected the kick drum. So we're just hearing the kind of the snap of the kick, but all the bottom end's been pulled out because I had to, right? So yeah, I would, like, honestly, we're gonna listen to the rest of it. The end. Yeah, I mean, that's just the Portal song, isn't it? Anyway, I think it's a sick song. I just think you got to get that bass under control and then profit. All right, on to the last one. We got WTM Pixel Universe. Here we go. Bro really said, wow, 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 wee, wow, whoa. I can only imagine this is what taking mushrooms and having a bad trip is like. All right, a couple things. I mean, this is clearly a strange song, and I like it. I like the strange and uniqueness of it. It's very interesting and wibbity wobbity wob wob wob. There's not really much in the center channel of the stereo field. It's all very spread out wide. This song really wubs my wobble. Yeah, it really wobbles my wub, you know? I love all these little weird moments. I do feel like the long ringing kick drum thing is maybe a bit overbearing in general. When you say the bass, are you talking about like the dong, the kick drum? Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like a long ringing kick, and it might not always jive with the track musically, but I don't know. No, it's a changing note. Okay, I didn't quite pick up on that. Like the wub 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 part? I'm not sure. I don't really know how to give feedback on this track, to be honest, because it's such a strange piece of music. And I definitely am not saying that in a bad way. It's just like I've never done mushrooms, but I can just imagine this is what it's like when you see like a bunch of like little gnome people running around you or whatever happens when you take mushrooms. If anything, I would maybe say tame the ringingness of the kick drum down a little bit and maybe try to place a couple items more in the center of the stereo field so that it doesn't, because it just kind of feels very wide. Everything feels wide, so everything's kind of on top of each other because they're all kind of pushed out in the width department. But that's pretty much it. I liked it. It's fucking weird, and I like it for that. I like it for the weirdness, and all these moments were fun. They make me giggle, and I like that about it. All right, cool. That's me. This is me. Okay, I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'm having a deck building party tomorrow. A bunch of my friends are coming over to help me fix my deck. Yeah, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited to have friends that are willing to come over and help me fix my deck. And that's kind of irrelevant to this stream, but I just wanted to say that. So I hope you have a good weekend. I love you, and bye, I guess. And bye.